So throughout the years, I've had a lot of requests and people asking me how I make the internal harness for any of my baits, and I've always been kind of secretive about that because you kind of want to keep things, at least some things, a secret. But I decided to open the door a little bit and show you guys how I make the internal harness for this soft bait. So I'm just about to go and do a little bit of test fishing with this thing, and yeah. Enjoy the video. I'm gonna head out and do a little bit of fishing and see what happens. Alrighty, let's get started with the whole internal wire harness system. And the first thing what I'm gonna do, I'm going to draw the whole outline of the whole lure, so that it's going to be easier for me to get a sense of dimensions, what I'm dealing with here, so that I'm not going to make the whole wire harness system too big or too small. And actually this wire harness system is going to be kind of like a flotation device as well. I already have kind of like a specific idea in mind that what I want to do here and what sort of shape I'm going to have the wire harness / flotation device. So it's not going to take too long for me to doodle this out. After a little bit of doodling, I'm pretty much set on the whole overall look of the internal wire harness, and now I'm just gonna cut it off and use that as a template. So I'm just going to use this excess piece from my previous video where I cut a piece of the OBO Modulan synthetic material from the Mold Master off, and I'm just going to use that as a basically another Mold Master. So since the piece is pretty small that I'm going to be working on now, I decided not to use any kind of jigsaws or anything like that. So I'm just going to use hand tools mostly for this build. And yeah, just going to cut off the excess pieces and try not to mess up too badly. Once I had taken the excess pieces off, I'm just going to basically rasp out the rest of the shape and then just finish up the job with some sanding paper. So the whole point of having an internal wire harness system is to stabilize the action of the bait. And I'm going to make my damnedest to make sure that the whole wire harness system is going to be symmetrical. So first off, I need to mark out the center line and draw it on. So very early on I knew already that I wanted to have versatility in my wire harness system where I can add more weight or take off weight, depending on what sort of rate of fall I wanted to have for the bait. So for that reason I'm making this slot for basically add the weight in. And I figured that the easiest way to do the slot would be to basically drill a bunch of holes. And yeah, you can see here that I've put some electric tape on the drill bit so that I know I'm not going to go too deep or actually go through the thing, which can be very easy with this synthetic material because it's pretty soft. I know I could have just used the holes that I just drilled as a placement to hold the weights, but I wanted to have a big opening so that it's going to be easier for me to mold this thing, and also I feel like it's a little bit more versatile when you can add a little bit more weight inside of it. Now I'm gonna start shaping the whole wire harness system, and you know, there's not that much to say about this part. You know, it's pretty straightforward and pretty self-explanatory when if you just look what I'm doing. Basically just rounding off the rough edges and making everything nice and round. And you know, a point about that is that I wanted to make sure that there's definitely not going to be any sharp edges anywhere, because it's going to be way easier for the wire harness to actually come through the whole soft plastic if you, for example, get a pike tooth cutting a piece of or shredding the bait itself. So it just makes things a little bit easier later on, I feel. Now that the wire harness system is nice and smooth, I'm just going to drill a few holes here to accommodate the wire that I'm going to be putting inside that are going to make the line tie and the hook tie. Positioning the mock-up wire inside the Moldmaster wire harness system was pretty tricky, so I decided to use the mold itself to kind of like help me out a little bit, to have kind of like sense of dimension of how much I need to pull out the wire or push in the wire so that it's going to align well in the mold. Once I had them in a spot that I liked, I just super glued them in and make sure that they're not going to move around. I decided to skip the whole mold making thing because honestly I do that in every single video that I make nowadays, it seems. So if you want to see how to do a two-piece mold, just go and see my previous video. And as you can see here, the position of the wire harness system inside the mold is kind of odd or tricky. So I need to make a pour hole, and then I need to make a vent hole. So I'm just gonna use a hobby knife to cut those out. Sometimes determining the volume of resin that you're gonna need is going to be a little tricky. So this is a trick that I sometimes use. I basically close the mold, pour water inside of it, and then I'm going to just weigh the water that I just poured inside the mold. And that's usually pretty close to the volume of resin that I'm gonna be needing. I'm just about to get ready to pour some resin inside the mold, but before that I need to make sure that the wire harness is not going to move. So what I usually do is I use these metal pegs, metal L-shaped pegs that I just push into the mold. The playtime I did with water told me that I need at least 20 grams of resin to fill the mold. And what I also have here is 1 gram of filler. And what's that going to do is going to make the resin float, which is going to make this internal wire harness system sort of like a flotation device as well. I'm sure someone out there is going to wonder what sort of resin I use, and this is from a online company or online shop from the Netherlands called Form X, and the resin is called Form X Burrow. After 10 minutes of waiting, I can now demold the piece and take care of any excess flashing that might have occurred. I already did a little bit of experimentation previously on how much lead I'm actually going to be needing inside the mold, and I got roughly 7 grams in order to get a good rate of fall, and also so that it actually works as a keel weight. And as you can see, there's a little bit of excess space left on the front of the cavity, and I'm just going to fill that out with some plastic putty. And I did use hot glue before, but that didn't work out well. I mean, you can probably guess how well hot glue is gonna work with hot plastisol. Not very well, let me tell you. Now I'm just about to get ready to pour one of those soft shads, and you're probably wondering yourself, what the hell is that metal peg doing there? And that's just there to stabilize the whole internal weight system inside the mold, so that it doesn't keel on either side when I actually pour the hot plastisol inside the mold. So I decided to make a little trip to the nearby river and show you guys how this shad was truly meant to work. And I have to apologize about the car noises in the background. I know it's kind of annoying, but I'm actually between two bridges here, so there's a lot of traffic going by. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like the video if you did. Leave a comment on what you might want to see next time, and I'll try to see if I can grant your wish. So, see you guys in the next video.